November 27, 2016. Calgary is down by 6 in overtime, facing a third down in the Grey Cup. 10 yards away from Calgary continuing their dominant season, or Ottawa winning their first Grey Cup in 40 years. How we got to this point requires a deep dive. The game is being played in Toronto for the third time in 10 years, this time in a new location, BMO Field. The site of BMO Field used to be where Exhibition Stadium was located, which also happens to be the stadium where a team from Ottawa last won the Grey Cup, back in 1976, when the Ottawa Rough Riders defeated the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Yes, there were two Rough Riders back then. About to take the snap is Levi Mitchell. He's had an amazing season leading up to tonight. Mitchell started in 17 regular season games this year, and led the Stamps to a 15-1-1 record, including a 15-game unbeaten streak which set a CFL record for most consecutive wins by a starting quarterback. Even with Calgary losing the CFL's leading receiver last season, Eric Rogers, to the San Francisco 49ers, and another solid receiver, Jeff Fuller, to the Seattle Seahawks, Mitchell picked up where he left off last year. He hasn't lost since the season opener on June 25th. For his regular season efforts, Mitchell was unanimously named the most outstanding player. En route to the Grey Cup, the Stampeders dismantled the BC Lions in the West Division Final, winning 42-15. Consistency is what Calgary is best known for. Since John Hufnagel took over the head coach and general manager job, Calgary has hosted a playoff game in 7 out of 8 seasons, and won 2 Grey Cups. Before the 2016 season, Hufnagel stepped down as head coach and promoted Dave Dickenson to be the new head coach. The rookie head coach found himself in a favorable situation with a stacked roster and top quarterback. Winning for Calgary seemed all too easy in the regular season.
Now on first down, Mitchell looks to the end zone. Touchdown from the Calgary 46. Nichols has time, heaves it up for Dressler, and the pass is intercepted.
But even though they won at an incredible rate, they suffered heartbreak along the way.
The Calgary Stampeders are mourning the loss of 23-year-old defensive back Mylan Hicks, who was shot and killed outside a Calgary nightclub early Sunday morning.
On the morning of September 25th, after a Stamps win against the Bombers, Mylan Hicks was out celebrating the win with a few teammates, and was tragically shot dead outside a nightclub while trying to break up a fight. Prior to kickoff, Mylan's mom gave an emotional visit to the Stamps on the field. Tonight has been a different story for Calgary. They're in overtime in a game that should not even be close according to the odds makers, listing Calgary as 10-point favorites. For the first time all season, Mitchell has thrown 3 interceptions. 2 of the interceptions were thrown to second-year player Forrest Hightower. In 2015, Hightower subbed in when necessary and made a solid impression for the coaches. This year, he has come in confident, saying that the game has slowed down for him, and he has adjusted to the CFL rules and field dimensions. With 2 interceptions in the regular season, he matched that in the biggest game of the season. The fact that this game got to overtime is somewhat surprising, but this is the CFL, and comebacks are an exciting part of the game. With 100 seconds left in regulation, Calgary was trailing by 10. After rookie DeVaris Daniel scored a touchdown to make it a 3-point game, Calgary was able to recover an onside kick. Mitchell then drove Calgary down to the Ottawa 2-yard line with under 30 seconds. On second and goal, Andrew Buckley came into the game and tried to run the ball in, but this resulted in a 1-yard loss. It was a very questionable call by rookie head coach Dave Dickenson. Although Barkley scored from 1 yard out earlier tonight, everyone thought that the ball would have been handed off to the CFL's leading rusher, Jerome Messam. And why is Messam here? Isn't Cornish the running back for Calgary? Cornish led the CFL in rushing from 2012 to 2014, but had a series of injuries dating back to 2014. In fact, in 2014 he only played half the games, and still managed to lead the league in rushing. Due to his injuries, Cornish decided to retire after 2015, and Messam took over the starting job for Calgary. It was a golden era for Canadian running backs, with Cornish, Harris, and Messam all starting, and showing the rest of the league that they belonged regardless of their passport. Ottawa tonight is trying to avoid losing back-to-back Grey Cups, and for the first time in Redblacks history. After a 2-win inaugural season in 2014, Ottawa surprised the league by making it to the Grey Cup in 2015. Although many would say that was due to Zach Collaros being injured for Hamilton when the Tickets had an 8-3 record in September last season. Ottawa has 39 points tonight, and how did they manage to score them? Just 3 years ago, they didn't even have a head coach and a full roster, as they were in the beginning stages of their franchise. With the expansion draft, Ottawa selected
from the Calgary Stampeders, corps arrière, quarterback.
From Illinois State, Kevin Glenn.
But Glenn isn't on Ottawa tonight. In fact, he didn't even play a game for Ottawa. Prior to the start of CFL free agency, the Redblacks signed Henry Burris and named him the starter. Glenn got relegated to a backup role. Glenn then requested a trade and was dealt to BC before the start of the season. Burris has been a very consistent player in the CFL for a long time, but this season was different. For the first time since 2007, he missed consecutive games due to injuries. During the warm-ups tonight, Burris injured his knee. He had to get painkillers and a knee brace before returning to the field just moments before the opening kickoff. His backup tonight is Trevor Harris. 11 years younger than Henry Burris, Ottawa signed Harris in February as the succession plan to the 41-year-old Burris. Harris made a splash in 2015 with Toronto, playing in 17 games and throwing a CFL best 33 touchdowns. He began the season as the backup, but was pressed into action partway through the season opener after Burris injured his finger. He then started in the next 4 games before suffering an injury against Saskatchewan. Burris then started the next 3 games, losing 2 of them. As a result, when Harris was healthy again in Week 10, he got the starting job over Burris. Harris started in the next 6 games, but only won 2 of those games, ultimately losing his starting job back to Burris. Burris came into relief in a game against the Riders in late October and never gave up the starting job for the rest of the year. Regardless of the quarterback tonight, they would have a great receiving corps to throw to. Ottawa has 2 of the top 10 receiving yards leaders this season, and a 3rd receiver in the top 15. Greg Ellingson, Ernest Jackson, and Brad Sinopoli all were huge contributors during the season, all 3 of them in their second year with the Redblacks. Brad Sinopoli even scored a big touchdown in tonight's game. On Ottawa's opening drive in the second half, Sinopoli caught a 9-yard touchdown pass, giving Ottawa a 27-7 lead. Sinopoli is a local product of nearby Ottawa. He played his university football at Ottawa as a quarterback. Drafted by Calgary in 2011, he stuck around Calgary for 2 seasons as a 3rd-string quarterback before converting to receiver in 2013. Ottawa has one of the deepest receiving corps in the league, but it wasn't like that 2 years ago. In their inaugural season, they had receivers Marcus Henry, Miles Wallace, Matt Carter, and Dobson Collins. None of them had ever had a 1,000-yard season. Knowing they needed a huge upgrade at the receiver position, Ottawa spent big on the receiver market during the 2015 free agency period. They signed Greg Ellingson, Ernest Jackson, and Brad Sinopoli. The move paid off as all 3 of the big signings had 1,000-yard seasons in both 2015 and 2016. There was a 4th big receiver signing during the 2015 free agency, Chris Williams, who also had 1,000-yard seasons in 2015 and 2016, but he is not playing tonight due to an ACL tear he suffered in October. Tonight, Jackson, Sinopoli, and Ellingson have combined for 275 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, but none was bigger than just a few moments ago.
Big over the middle, open man, Ernest Jackson, touchdown!
On 2nd and 9 from the Calgary 18, Jackson made a juggling touchdown catch to put up the winning points. Jackson didn't have a drop all season and did not disappoint when called upon in overtime. On Calgary's overtime attempt, Mitchell threw 2 incompletions on 1st and 2nd down. Now it is 3rd and 10 with the Grey Cup on the line. Welcome to a moment in history.